Tonight, you're going to pick up your phone. You won't decide to. Your hand will just do it. You'll unlock the screen, scroll for a few seconds, find nothing new, and put it down again. And in about 4 minutes, you'll do it again. This isn't a habit you built. It's a habit that was built into you long before phones existed. The real answer is far stranger than willpower or addiction. Your brain didn't evolve for notifications. It evolved for something older, something that kept your ancestors alive on the savannah 100,000 years ago. And the reason you can't stop checking your phone traces back to a mechanism so ancient, so deeply wired, that fighting it with sheer discipline was never going to work. Start with a question. Why does checking your phone feel good even when there's nothing there? In the 1950s, a psychologist named B.F. Skinner ran an experiment with pigeons. He put them in a box with a lever. Press the lever, get a food pellet. Simple enough. The pigeons learned fast. But then Skinner changed the rules. Instead of a pellet every time, the pigeons got a pellet at random intervals, sometimes after one press, sometimes after 20. No pattern, no way to predict it. Something strange happened. The pigeons didn't press the lever less, they pressed it more, obsessively. Skinner called this variable ratio reinforcement, and it turned out to be the most powerful reward schedule known to psychology. Predictable rewards create predictable behavior. Unpredictable rewards create compulsion. Your phone runs on the exact same schedule. Sometimes you check it, and there's a message. Sometimes there's nothing. You never know which one it will be. That uncertainty isn't a bug in the design. It's the entire design. Every app you use was built, tested, and refined by people who understood Skinner's pigeons better than you understand your own habits. But this only explains the mechanism. It doesn't explain why your brain was so easy to hijack in the first place. For that, you have to go back further, much further. Picture a small band of early humans, maybe 40 people, moving together across open grassland. No walls, no roads, no way to call for help. Survival didn't depend on strength alone, it depended on information. Who was nearby, who could be trusted, where the danger was, what had changed since yesterday. The anthropologist Robin Dunbar spent decades studying primate social groups and found something remarkable. As group size grew, so did the size of a very specific part of the brain, the neocortex. Bigger social groups required more mental bandwidth just to track relationships. Who's allied with who? Who owes who a favor? Who might turn on you? Dunbar proposed that gossip evolved as a replacement for something primates do physically: grooming. Chimpanzees pick through each other's fur for hours, not just for hygiene, but to maintain social bonds. Humans couldn't groom 40 people individually. There wasn't enough time in the day. So language evolved in part as a faster way to do the same job, talking about other people, tracking social information, staying updated. Your brain, in other words, has always been a social monitoring device. It was never built to relax. It was built to constantly ask one question: what has changed in my social world since the last time I checked? Now hold that thought and look at your phone again. Every time you open it, you're asking Dunbar's question. What changed? Who said something? Who liked what? Who might be talking about me right now? Your phone didn't invent this craving. It just gave it a button. There's a third piece to this, and it might be the most unsettling one. In the early 2000s, a neuroscientist named John Cacioppo began studying loneliness, not as a feeling, but as a biological alarm system. Cacioppo found that when people feel socially disconnected, their brains shift into a state of heightened vigilance. Isolated brains don't calm down. They scan harder. They pay more attention to social threats and social cues, because for most of human history, being cut off from the group wasn't just uncomfortable. It was dangerous. Alone on the savannah, without allies to share food or warn of predators, your odds of survival dropped sharply. So your brain built in a warning system. Disconnection feels bad on purpose. It's meant to push you back toward the group before the group forgets you exist. Here's where it gets strange. Your phone triggers that same warning system constantly, even when nothing is actually wrong. A missed notification isn't a real threat. Nobody is going to leave you behind because you didn't respond to a text within an hour, but your nervous system doesn't know the difference between social exile and an unread message. It responds to both the same way it always has, with a small, nagging urge to check. Put these three things together and the picture becomes clear. Skinner's unpredictable rewards keep you pulling the lever. Dunbar's social tracking system gives you a reason to care what's on the other side. Cacioppo's vigilance response punishes you, quietly, for not checking. You're not weak-willed, you're not broken, you're running software that was optimized for a world with 40 people in it, not 4 billion. Think about how different that world was. If someone in your band changed their opinion of you, you'd know within hours through a glance, a tone of voice, a shift in who sat where at the fire. Information traveled slowly, but it was almost always meaningful. Every piece of social data mattered because there was so little of it. Now compare that to today. In a single scroll, you can absorb more social signals, more opinions, more strangers' lives than your ancestors processed in a year. Your brain treats each one as if it might matter the way a shift in the tribe's opinion once mattered. It can't tell the difference between someone you love and someone you've never met. A notification from a stranger on the other side of the planet lights up the same circuitry that once tracked whether your closest allies still trusted you. This is why willpower alone rarely works. You're not fighting a bad habit. You're fighting a survival mechanism that has been running, uninterrupted, for roughly 200,000 years. It has never once been told that the emergency is over. There's a strange kind of comfort in this, though. Once you see the mechanism, the compulsion loses some of its mystery. It's not a personal failing. It's an ancient alarm going off in a world that no longer matches the one it was built for. Understanding that doesn't switch it off, but it does change how you respond to it. Some researchers have started testing what happens when you interrupt the pattern deliberately. Removing notifications doesn't eliminate the urge to check, but it does weaken Skinner's variable reward loop because the randomness disappears. Nothing to check means nothing to be surprised by. Spending real, uninterrupted time with a small number of people, the way Dunbar's ancestral bands once did, seems to quiet Cacioppo's vigilance response more effectively than any amount of scrolling ever could, not because the people online aren't real, but because your nervous system was built to be reassured by presence, not by pixels. You are not living in the world your brain was built for. Almost no one alive today is. That gap between the environment your instincts expect and the one you actually live in might be the defining condition of modern life. It shows up in how you eat, how you sleep, how you feel around strangers, and it shows up sharply every single time your hand reaches for your phone before your mind has even decided to move. So tonight, when you feel that small pull, that urge to check even though nothing new is likely there, you can notice it for what it actually is. Not a flaw, not a failure. 100,000-year-old alarm system still faithfully doing its job, still scanning for change in a tribe that no longer exists the way it once did. And somewhere underneath the scrolling, underneath the notifications, underneath the quiet compulsion you've never quite been able to name, there's still a small band of 40 people walking across open ground, checking in on each other just to make sure everyone made it through the day. Tonight, when you pick up your phone without deciding to, you'll know exactly why. You always have.